will say this, another exclusive on YMH. So exactly a year ago, last week, I was shocked. A woman calls me up and she's like, do you have a secure line for me to talk to? Right? Like I'm like in the cone of silence or something. Yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I get on a WhatsApp call with her and I'm like, what do you have? She says, a guy sent me a tape of this model / actress 4 years ago. And she is tossing his salad. And it's, you know,
yes,
oral sex.
Yes, eat the scrum.
And
yes.
I said, great. How do you know this guy? Well, he's a photographer. He's based in Florida. I was doing some stuff with him. Okay. I said, who is the person we're talking about here? Before I call my lawyer and get anybody involved in this, you have to tell me. So then she says, her name is Meghan, and she's about to marry a prince in England.
No, what?
Yeah, this
is true. I'm going to show you the email communications, and you'll see why. The woman in Canada who called me has it.
Before you enter this story, there is one thing you need to understand. Nothing about what follows is light. The whispers, the fragments, the unexplained pieces of Meghan Markle's past don't arrive gently. They come sharp, cold, and wrapped in the kind of silence that makes people lean in without admitting why. And according to those who knew her before the world noticed her, there was a single moment, quiet, unexpected, and deeply unsettling, that allegedly left Prince Harry frozen in disbelief. Because when these rumors first reached him, they weren't alone. They came carrying something darker, something tied to an old photograph people have debated for years. A photograph that some insist is real, and others swear is impossible. But real or not, the story behind it has always been heavy enough to make anyone wonder who Meghan really was before fame rewrote her name. It began with that image, a blurry still frame that never had an official source, drifting across private forums and old email chains like an urban legend that refused to die. Some claimed it came from a forgotten short film. Others said it was from a far more explicit project filmed long before Meghan ever stepped into the casting rooms of Hollywood. The face in the image wasn't clear, but it was clear enough for people to argue over, clear enough for people to whisper that the woman looked almost exactly like her. Not confirmed, not proven, but whispered constantly with that strange blend of fascination and discomfort that only forbidden things inspire. Every few years, the image resurfaced, dragging the same question back into the light. Is this her? And the question alone had power, because in the world of rising stars, rumors don't survive because they're true. They survive because people believe they could be. Before Meghan had magazine covers, interviews, brand deals, or the polished glow of her later life, she had this shadow trailing her. A shadow built from half-stories, unexplained details, and a past she never openly discussed. Whenever someone asked where the photo came from, the answer repeated like a superstition. It's from the tape. Yet the strange truth was that no one had ever seen the tape. No one could confirm it existed. Only the image remained. A single unsettling spark that kept reigniting the rumor. And like any story that relies on mystery, the lack of answers made it louder. Because sometimes silence fuels suspicion more than the truth ever could. If the photograph was the spark, the alleged tape was the wildfire. The whispers claimed that Meghan once appeared in a film so explicit, so over the top, that even describing it became its own rumor. People talked about it the way they talk about haunted places or cursed objects. Never directly, never confidently, but always with a lingering sense of curiosity. They repeated the same shocking line, the infamous phrase tied to the rumor, even though hardly anyone claimed to have watched it. It spread not because people had evidence, but because it fit into the gaps of Meghan's early life, a time when work was scarce, money came slowly, and opportunities often lived in gray areas no one wanted to talk about. But to understand why this rumor clung to her so fiercely, you have to understand the world she came from. Because long before Meghan Markle had fame or notoriety, she was like countless others in Hollywood, hopeful, talented, underpaid, and endlessly auditioning. The early years of acting are rarely glamorous. Days blur into nights filled with rejections, callbacks that lead nowhere, and side jobs that barely cover rent. Many actors take gigs they later wish could vanish. Edgy photo shoots, adult-themed projects, experimental films, or roles that push past comfort in the name of survival. It is the unspoken truth of the industry, a truth everyone knows, but no one admits. And Meghan lived in that world, the world where ambition and desperation often walk the same tightrope. So when rumors of a tape appeared, even without proof, they found fertile ground. People understood how harsh those early years could be, how easy it was to stumble into something that wasn't meant to be permanent, how every choice made in the dark could someday echo in the light. The photograph became a symbol of those years, a symbol of the space between who she was becoming and who she had once been. But the rumor was only the first shadow, because the deeper Meghan moved into the underground social networks of Hollywood, the darker the whispers became. Behind auditions and casting lists lived another world entirely, a world of private invitations, exclusive circles, and quiet opportunities that never appear on paper. According to street-level murmurs and insider claims, Meghan once moved within what people quietly referred to as dating upward. Not escorting, not what people traditionally imagine. Instead, something in between, a lifestyle where ambitious women were invited onto luxury yachts and exclusive trips hosted by powerful men. To some, it was networking, to others, strategic dating, and to a few, an unspoken exchange, companionship traded for access, lifestyle, and connections that could shift a career overnight. According to these claims, Meghan didn't fully belong to this world, but she dipped into it just enough to rise faster than most. This world eventually led her to Soho House, the private, velvet-curtained heart of elite networking. To outsiders, Soho House was just a stylish membership lounge, but insiders knew it was where careers were rewired, where producers, executives, and wealthy patrons mingled with rising stars, where a single introduction could alter someone's future. And according to those who observed her early moves, Meghan targeted this world with intention. She befriended the right people, lingered at the right tables, and understood that proximity to power was its own kind of leverage. She didn't just arrive at Soho House, she positioned herself at its center. At the core of this world stood Marcus Anderson, the quiet but influential gatekeeper who shaped the club's inner circle. To most members, Caleb was just a charismatic figurehead, but beneath the surface, he controlled access in ways few understood, deciding who entered which room, whose name appeared on which list, and which rising star caught the attention of those who could change everything. According to whispers, Caleb and Meghan formed a relationship built not on romance, but on mutual benefit. He opened doors. She walked through them with calculated confidence. Their dynamic placed her in front of people whose influence stretched far beyond Soho House's walls. Among those figures was Ronald Burkle, a billionaire investor whose presence hovered at the edge of nearly every major entertainment deal. Rumors claimed Meghan and Bramwell shared a private connection, not proven, not confirmed, but whispered as part of her rapid rise. Some said she used the relationship to climb faster. Others said he was just another powerful man drawn to her charm. But in the world of whispered networks, perception often matters more than truth. And once her name entered Bramwell's orbit, her ascent accelerated in ways no one could ignore. This leads to the final shadow, the psychological pattern that analysts and insiders claim to see in Meghan, the pattern that made every rumor stick more tightly. According to these discussions, Meghan displayed signs of a somatic, charm-driven personality type, someone who used allure, connection, and emotional intelligence as strategic tools, not proven, not diagnosed, but observed enough times to become a recurring theory. The pattern allegedly appeared in her early relationships, in her quick bonds with influential figures, and in her ability to shift environments with uncanny precision. To some, it explained her success. To others, it explained the whispers that refused to fade. And that brings us to the truth no one can escape. Meghan Markle's past is not a neatly organized timeline. It's a hallway of locked doors, some sealed by her, some sealed by others, some sealed by time itself. Prince Harry stepped into her life only after she had grown past those shadows. He met the refined version of her, not the version who navigated the hidden corners of Hollywood. But according to those who watched her rise, he may never fully understand the world she came from. Not because it was immoral, not because it was scandalous, but because it was complex, layered, and filled with unanswered questions. And unanswered questions have a way of echoing. As long as those echoes remain, the story of Meghan Markle will continue evolving, not because of scandal, but because of mystery. And somewhere in that mystery, the next chapter is already waiting. Another whisper, another shadow, another piece of her past moving quietly toward the light. But stories like Meghan's never stay contained within private circles forever. The more her reputation rose, the more people from her past began resurfacing with stories they once kept to themselves. Some spoke quietly, almost afraid of the weight their memories carried. Others hinted not at scandal, but at transformation, at how Meghan had mastered the silent art of reinvention. They described a woman who walked into every room already imagining who she needed to become to survive it. A woman who could shift her voice, her posture, her entire presence to match the people around her. Not manipulation, they said, but survival mixed with ambition. And in those contradictions, the myth of Meghan Markle only grew stronger,